Some of the stuff we ate in the 1970s would raise eyebrows and maybe a few legal flags today. But back then, it was totally normal and honestly, is kind of delicious. We're about to look back at some nostalgic foods, from candy cigarettes to raw cookie dough. But stick with me to the end, because we're going to talk about the one weeknight staple that was secretly laced with mercury. You heard me right. Let's get into it. Red dye number 2 in everything. You didn't just eat candy in the 70s, you wore it. Red dye number 2 turned your tongue a radioactive cherry color after a single lollipop. Popsicles, cake mix, KoolAid, you name it, it was glowing. I remember it vividly. It was the same stuff used to color fire truck paint, and we were slurping it down like it was a vitamin. The dye got banned in 1976, but not before it made us all look like we'd made out with a crayon. And honestly, we kind of loved it. That bright red stain on your tongue, that was proof you'd had a good day. It was the official color of a 1970s childhood. Candy cigarettes. Oh, the gateway snack. These little chalky sticks came in flip-top boxes that made you feel like a movie star, or maybe a delinquent. You'd strut around the playground, blowing powdered sugar smoke like a rebel on recess. Never mind, your toughest offense was forgetting your math homework. They were brittle, they crumbled, and they never really tasted that good. But they made you feel cool. No one batted an eye. In fact, half the adults thought it was cute. They tasted like sweet drywall, which of course we pretended was delicious. Raw cookie dough by the spoonful. Today, you look at a tube of cookie dough, and it has a warning label the size of a billboard. But back then, no one ever stopped to ask, is this safe? You licked the beaters. You scraped the bowl. You might have even gone rogue and eaten half the dough before it ever hit the oven. Raw eggs? Please. That was just part of the delicious experience. Your mom wasn't worried about salmonella. She was worried you'd spoil your dinner. If you got a bellyache later, you blamed the meatloaf, not the cookie dough. You always called dibs on the spoon. Heaven help the poor soul who tried to beat you to it. Bologna left out all day. Nothing said lunchtime at school. Like a warm bologna sandwich that had been sitting in your lunchbox since 7 a.m. It wasn't refrigerated. It wasn't insulated. It was just tucked next to a lukewarm thermos of milk and maybe a wax paper wrapped ding-dong. And somehow, we lived. No coolers, no ice packs, just room temperature meat sweating through Wonder Bread. It definitely smelled a little funky by noon, but you ate it anyway, because what else were you going to do? We built immunity, character, and a tolerance for questionable mayonnaise that still lives deep within us. Unpasteurized everything at Grandma's pre-force. Ah, the good old days, when milk came in glass bottles and might still have a little straw in it from the farm. If an animal moved that morning, it was probably on your cereal by the afternoon. Cheese was homemade. Butter was churned. Even the smell in Grandma's fridge was unpasteurized. Pasteurization, that was for city folk. You didn't ask if the milk was raw. You just hoped it wasn't still warm from the cow. And if there was a thick layer of cream floating on top, that just meant it was extra good. You drank it without question, because Grandma didn't play around. Foil-wrapped television dinners. Long before microwaves were king, dinner came wrapped in foil and served in a compartmentalized tray that looked suspiciously like it was built by NASA. You'd pop it in the oven at 400 degrees, walk away for 45 minutes, and come back to magic. Turkey, peas, stuffing, and that lava-hot mystery brownie that was fused to the aluminum tray. Today, they'd make you sign a waiver to heat that thing up. But in the 1970s, it was just called Tuesday night. The meal where the peas were always ice cubes and the brownie was always molten lava. Lunchbox thermoses of hot KoolAid. This is a memory I think we all share. Your mom packed grape KoolAid in that little thermos with the matching cartoon character lid. It started out cold, but by noon, it had transformed. It tasted like melted plastic and sugary dreams. But you drank it because hydration was hydration, and your only other option was the metal drinking fountain with water that tasted like copper pennies. These days, kids have filtered water bottles that tell time. Back then, we had grape KoolAid soup, and we liked it. Real Crisco fried everything. There was a giant tub of Crisco on every kitchen counter, and it was proud of its place. It was the secret ingredient to everything delicious. You could fry chicken, donuts, potatoes, and probably a hubcap in that stuff, and it would taste amazing. You'd scoop out a big, white, waxy glob with a spoon, plop it in a cast iron skillet, and watch dinner happen. Trans fats? Heart disease? That wasn't even on the radar. All we knew was that Crisco made things golden, crispy, and worth every single bite. They had to change the recipe years later. But let's be honest, nothing has ever matched that original crunch. JellO with suspicious add-ins. You haven't truly lived until you've eaten a wobbly cube of lime JellO with shredded carrots suspended in it, or cottage cheese, or pineapple, or, God help us, mini marshmallows and chopped celery. It wasn't dessert. It wasn't a salad. It was something else entirely. But every potluck, every church basement dinner had one. A shimmering, wobbly creation that moved when you touched the table, and we all took a slice because we were polite. Now, you'd be cited for a gelatin crime, but back then, we just called it creativity. Mercury-laced fish sticks. And for our final, most unbelievable memory, let's talk about fish sticks. They were a weeknight staple, golden brown, crispy, and just mysterious enough to keep things interesting. Sure, some of the gray bits inside looked like they might glow in the dark, but that's what ketchup was for, right? Well, here's the part we didn't know back then. For years, due to industrial pollution, many types of fish contained higher levels of mercury. No one meant to feed us mercury. It was more of a happy little industrial accident. Now, the mercury warnings come with a PDF and a panic attack, but back then, we just kept on dipping. The 70s were a different time. We didn't worry about preservatives or pasteurization. We worried about whether we got the corner slice of cake. Sure, some of the stuff we ate back then wouldn't pass today's safety tests. But we had fun, didn't we? We licked the spoon, slurped the KoolAid, and somehow, we lived to tell the tale. So, thanks for watching, and until next time, stay nostalgic, stay hungry, and stay just a little bit rebellious.